And I had talked to a very good friend of mine who had always been like a mentor to me. And I said, geez, John, I would love to do this, but I don't have this kind of money. He's like, you have every opportunity in front of you. People always say if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
It's not how good you are when you're good, it's how good you are when you're bad.
But when your head, your heart, and your gut come into alignment, you'll know. Your attention, your affection is a reward. You have to manage them the way they need to be managed, not the way that's comfortable for you.
We always think in the marketplace everyone's paying so much attention to us, but the reality is like people are paying attention to their own damn thing.
Happiness is a choice, and success is a choice. And I don't mean success financially, because your business can make a huge profit, and that does not mean you are a success. That's the other biggest thing as an owner is know what you don't know.
There's one thing that all champions have in common. They get shit done. So welcome to the Get Shit Done Experience. Well, we are back at it again. This is the Get Shit Done Experience, also known as the GSDX Podcast. You can find us at www.gsdxpodcast.com. Once again, powered by TTSG, GSD Technologies, and 2020 Design. One call, you can get it all. We appreciate all of the time and energy that folks have put into this podcast, and just want to thank the team behind the podcast that is putting out content clips on YouTube and all of our social media platforms. The content is getting a ton of attention, and we're really excited about that. We've been going out and doing some live events, and now we're here in studio on a Friday. What could be better? And we're talking to an amazing woman who's been on a tremendous journey from the corporate world of building herself up to a high level. And then at some point, and we'll get into this, she says, no, I'm going to go do this on my own. And now for close to 19 years, she's been an entrepreneur and a business owner. She's built a company called Bark Avenue Day Camp. Now, this is your local doggy daycare, but man, they do way more than that. I mean, there is a lot of science that goes into this, a lot of training, a lot of love and care. And by the way, they've been voted in Illinois one of the best doggy daycares in the state. In fact, they were top 2 in the vote. So we are here today with Miss Michelle Sarwas. How are you today?
I'm great, thank you.
You are
great.
Pleasure
to be here.
You are great. That is absolutely
great.
Right. It's been tested. It's been verified. You're absolutely great. Now, the location of your facility is in Bartlett. Is that correct?
We're in Bartlett.
Okay.
Yeah, just west of Stearns and 59.
There you go. So a lot of great country there. So you have a lot of property.
We have a lot of property. We've got 13,000 square feet.
Oh, that's it.
We are situated back in an industrial park.
Okay.
Purposely went back there because it's quiet.
Yeah.
Not a lot of traffic. So we have 10,000 square foot inside and an additional 3,000 outside.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the crazy thing about this is that you went to school and put a lot of time and energy into getting a highly technical degree and background and expertise and in all of those things. So tell us a little bit about how you got started from like high school to college. Like take us on that journey a little bit. So,
like I guess so many kids, teenagers, right? You're in high school, college seems to be your next path. So I was looking at colleges. I knew I wanted to go into business. My father he had a small business, construction company. And that numbers was just always kind of my thing. So I initially thought I wanted to be an accountant. So that's what I was looking for. Went to Marquette for a couple of years. Quickly learned I was not the accountant type.
There's always savings, but it's about way more than savings alone. Total Technology Solutions Group redefines managed print services. Excellence is the minimum standard. TTSG is a true managed print service provider, deeply understanding your technology and business goals. Your business is unique. Our solutions are tailored to your current and future business goals. Our customer-first approach empowers and delights. TTSG can ensure your technology environment will scale as your business does. So as you navigate business and constant change, partner with TTSG for premium advisement and seamless implementation of your technology goals. We set the bar high. Your people deserve it. Peace of mind. Powerful innovation. TTSG.com. You know how often I hear that? It takes a very unique
It does.
Person to be that kind of. You got to be really still and calm and very, mathematical and very. I don't know. You're kind of a creative.
I'm very mathematical, but I realized there was a huge difference between accounting and finance.
Yes. Yeah.
And finance is where my true passion laid at that point. So I went to school, did a couple of years at Marquette, ended up transferring to DePaul downtown, and got my bachelor's degree. I have 2 bachelors, one in marketing and one in finance.
Okay.
And I started, working right away for a company in Rosemont. Had a nice career with them. They ended up, after I was there about 13 years, they ended up filing bankruptcy. I moved on to the company actually that bought part of their businesses. I was part of that, selling that transaction. I was responsible for that. And so I started working for another company out in Lisle. And it was all very technical. Both companies, it was IT work. They were laying, infrastructures, corporate infrastructures, things like that. And I was the financial person behind a lot of those things, working the payouts on the deals, working commissions, things like that. But the second company was a German-owned company. And the only way for me to really progress in my career there was to get a master's degree. And I had just, at that point in my life, I had gone through some, personal tragedy, found myself a 39-year-old widow.
Oh, wow.
Unexpected, of course. And I was like, okay, well, I have to continue to do something to build, everything was on me. I had a 20-year-old daughter at the time. And, you do what you have to do.
Yeah.
So I decided, I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to get this master's. I'm going to do the things. So I went back, I got my master's degree, but while working through that, one of the courses that you have to do in that kind of a program is what they call a capstone. And it's kind of a culmination of everything you've learned in your basic courses. And in that course, they said, you're going to have to write a business plan. And we don't care what kind of business you do it in. You can make up a business, you can take a business you already know. You're just going to learn how to write a proper business plan.
Okay.
So at that time, I had recently gotten a dog. I've always been a dog lover. But when my husband passed, we had older dogs that had also passed. So I kind of got this new black lab puppy and just threw all of my energy into that dog. I was driving him out to a training facility in Des Plaines. We would run agility courses.
Isn't it amazing what we'll do for our pets?
And it was a form of, grief process for me at the time. But it was something to pour my energy into.
Absolutely.
And so I had become very good friends with this gentleman that owned the facility in Des Plaines. So when I was approached with this project, I thought, well, I'm just going to do it out of doggy daycare and I'll do a business plan for his business. And he was very helpful, gave me information from the industry. I had lived in Bartlett a long time already. I knew some people in the village. I thought, well, they'll give me demographics, so I'll do it locally. All of this was really in my mindset at that time was, how can I make this monstrous project a little bit more tolerable and something I think I can get through? By the time I got about 3/4 of the way through and I start looking at the numbers and going through the process, I was like, holy cow, this could actually be a real business in my neighborhood.
Yeah, I think I'm going to get an A.
And
and an A.
And so I started looking more into it. And of course, I finished the course and I did get an A on the project.
There you go. Let's go.
But I talked to the professor and I said, listen, I think I want to do this in real life. So will you help me look at this from a different perspective instead of just getting a grade? What else don't I know? We ran a lot through.
What am I missing?
Yeah, we ran through a lot of if-then scenarios and, all of that. So that was very helpful. But I was still, at that point, a single mom for all intents and purposes. And I had talked to a very good friend of mine who had always been like a mentor to me. And I said, geez, John, I would love to do this, but I don't have this kind of money. This is a big undertaking to start out. And he just kind of looked at me, and I'll never forget, we were having cocktails, and he looks at me and he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, you have every opportunity in front of you. He's like, my husband paid off the mortgage on the house with the life insurance policy. That's, was what I was advised to do. He's like, you're sitting in a home with no mortgage. You have no credit card debt. You have a great credit score. You're a woman looking to open a business.
Mm-hmm.
And this was like 2004, 2005.
Yeah.
The economy was booming in that moment.
2004 to 2007, right?
Yeah, it was. So the economy was booming. He's like, the bankers are going to love you.
Yeah.
He's like, I've got somebody you need to talk to. He told me, he's like, I want you to go to this branch in Bartlett. He says, I'm going to hook you up with somebody. So I walk in. Like 2 days later, I talked to this guy, Mark, who we have since become like very best friends.
Yeah.
But I'm like, John says I'm supposed to come see you. And we sit down. 3 weeks later, I've got an SBA loan.
Whoa.
For the money I need to do this build out and everything. And I was like,
must have been a good plan you wrote.
Oh my God. Yeah. This is happening.
Yeah.
Like, I need to go do something. And I had already found a location, the prime location I wanted, or I thought I wanted at the time, I couldn't afford. It was right on Route 59 at Stern. So it's,
exposed.
Lots of exposure. I thought this will be great, but there was no way I could afford it.
Yeah.
So that's what sent me into the back. And I'm like, okay, we'll pivot. We'll take what I can afford and we'll make that work. And I thought the money I save on rent, I'll just spend on marketing.
Yeah.
So we did. I walked back into work the next week. And at the time I was reporting to the CFO and I said, I'm giving you my notice, but I'll be here for probably about a year.
Yeah.
Because it's going to take me that long and I'm going to open a doggy daycare.
Okay. So what were you doing at this company? Like, what was your role at this company? Because you were pretty high up there. I mean, you're reporting the CFO, but this is a large company.
It was
doing some big time work.
Yeah, it was a large company. So I was a international financial analyst for them.
Yeah.
So they were doing global deals.
So the salespeople go out and put a mess together.
And they
you
come
make
back.
It make sense.
I look at it and say, yes or no.
Yeah.
These numbers make sense, or no, we need to do this or that. And I was also in charge of the North American sales commission plan. So there was a dotted line from their North American sales team into me for their compensation, because I wrote and managed their compensation.
So you wrote like the incentive package for the team.
I wrote that plan. And that, when I first got there, they were like, oh, the sales team, they're doing this and they're not, they're not doing what we want. And I'm like, no, but they're doing exactly how they're going to get the most money, which is what a salesman's always going to do.
Every sales agreement that I ever received, within 3 weeks, I figured out how to beat it. And you just
looking
changed
for the path of least resistance.
1,000%.
And that's what they're going to do.
How can I make the most money in the least amount of time?
If you want them to sell something different, you have to pay them to do so.
It's like that book, that book Moved the Cheese or whatever, right?
Exactly.
You got to move their cheese.
So that's what I was doing at the time. And I was the only one in the company that did it. We were a pretty small office. I mean, they were owned by Deutsche Telekom. So
wow.
Massive.
Yeah.
But it was a relatively small office in comparison to the entire structure of the organization. But there was nobody else doing what I did. And I knew that. And I would never have left them just high and dry. But that's why I was like, listen, I'm here for a year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to a competitor. When I told them what I was doing, they looked at me like I had 12 heads. He's like, you're going to open what? And I'm like, yeah. Way to go give this a shot.
Typically, when you go tell your current employer that you're going to go do something that is completely different, or just that you're leaving, period, they're almost like, how could you leave us?
Yeah.
We're the cool kids. Like, what do you mean? Right?
I mean, they were great. I mean, they we agreed. I would be there for as long as I could be there.
That was good of you to do.
Find somebody to fill my position or train other people in the corporations to take parts of it. That always makes you feel good when your job is then done by 4 different people.
Yeah. A bit productive, were we, Michelle?
But, it was a year. I had this empty warehouse, and thankfully, we have blessings that we don't know, right? My brother had taken over my dad's contracting company. He was running the business and was his own then, and he agreed to do the build out for me. So I had somebody in the facility that I could trust, that I didn't have to be there every step of the way. So he was working on the build out. I continued to do my job. In my office, I had one whiteboard that would have, fair market values and cash flows and all these numbers from the deals and all of this. And on the other one was the names that I was thinking of from my doggy daycare.
Yeah.
And people would just laugh. And one of my elder sisters, she helped me name the business.
Okay.
And she would call and, she'd be like, oh, what do you think about this? And I was like, I don't know. Let me write that on, And that's how I ended up coming up with the name. I really owe kudos to her for coming up with it.
It's a great name because it's kind of, there's an interesting play here. It's like you went from corporate USA, kind of the Madison, what are they, Wall Street kind of feel where, someone on Wall Street would maybe then live on Park Avenue.
Yeah.
Right. And you've gone to now this small to mid-sized business owner that's hyper purpose driven, that's kind of bringing like the big city corporate USA type of systems, controls, and procedures to the small to mid-sized. It's like a movie almost. It's like you quit your big, trading job in the stock market or the board of trade, and you left to go, take over a farm kind of a thing. There's like a feel to that.
Yeah. Well, that's, we wanted to do a play on the words to make it appear, like I said, I have a marketing background, so I knew the name was important. It's like,
absolutely.
Once you pick a name, you're stuck with it.
Once you hear it.
Trying to rebrand and change your name is
tough.
Just huge.
Huge.
So, I was there a year. I came up with the name. I didn't know anything of what I was doing. I had never run a business.
Yeah.
I didn't know it. So even down to like picking what kind of corporation I was going to be. In hindsight, 18 years later, and going through a lot of work with my accountant to change our corporate structure, I'm like, geez, I wish I had made the better decision. Because I went online and I was like, oh, yeah, this looks good. Let me fill in this form.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, but you did what you did.
But, when you're starting out, though, right, the most important thing is you get the name out there and you start selling. Then you figure the rest of the stuff out. Like,
yeah, and I figured, if this whole thing falls apart,
you go back and get a job.
I've got 2 degrees and I was 1 class shy of a master's when I opened. I did finally go back and actually finish it. But, we opened in 2007 and we opened in July. So we just crossed our 18th anniversary in July.
Congrats.
And thank you. And in December of 2007, right, our financial world just blew up. And banks were calling loans, and
trust me,
it was
I know
it was. We were all in a living financial.
2007 to 2012 were the 5 toughest years I think of my life.
And I just sat back and I was like, "Oh my Lord,
what did I do?
What have I done?
Mm-hmm.
I've walked away from a guaranteed salary. I've walked away
golden
from
handcuffs.
benefits. I'm like, and now I have people employed that I'm responsible for, and this huge mortgage. And I was like, all I could think of
the mortgage on the park
on the business. Well, at that time, I guess I was renting, so I didn't, but I still had obligations and everything. And all I could think of is I would think back to watching my dad have a small business. He ran it out of the house. He had very small crews, but he did fabulous work. And it was the grit, it was the hard work. And, I'd have conversations, when I was in college, he and I would sit down and we would talk about a lot of stuff about the business. And I was like, well, why don't you do this or why don't you do that? He's like, no. He's like, I'm just going to keep moving ahead. He's like, you just have to keep pushing. And he's like, and he, at one point in the conversation, he's like, sometimes you either sink or swim.
Yeah.
And he's like, so I just keep swimming. And that's all I thought about in that moment. I was like, well, I guess now is the time I'm going to swim like I have never swam before.
So I got to tell you, I have a chance to interact with CEOs and owners, especially through this outlet, right, of
Sure.
hosting a podcast. And I get to have some pretty intimate conversations with them. And what they don't realize is I'm asking them questions to create content, but I'm actually stealing their ideas and their knowledge and just, I'm getting super energized as they're filling my tanks up. The one thing that I think is interesting, having been an employee for so many years, is you have sidebar conversations with other employees, and they'll often point at the owner and they'll be like, how's this guy an owner, right? Like, or how's this gal an owner? Like, what makes them better than us? She's not smarter than me, right? So you'll hear a lot of these water cooler conversations. But then when it comes down to it, you go to the thing that you just talked about, which is that grit. That's the difference that I think is an intangible that a lot of people don't see, is that willingness, the guts, the grits, the desire, the passion, the refuse to lose, all those types of things that, you can't put it on a resume. And when you sit in a boardroom meeting and then everything is going fine and it's just going through charts and graphs and P&Ls and so on, it doesn't play.
No.
So as you mentioned, you go through that unbelievably difficult time, but there's another element to this is like, and I'm really curious about this, if you'll talk about it, like, how did your husband pass? Because you had that burden hanging over you as well.
Yeah, it was a rough time during my life because when he passed of a sudden heart attack. He had no health history. It was very sudden. Passed at home, and during that same time, my father was going through stage 4 lung cancer. So we had as a family, we had a lot going. My husband and I, the Sunday that he passed, we had gone out for lunch. We had taken
just a normal
girlfriend of ours out for lunch, celebrate her birthday, came home. I'll never forget. It was the day Ron Santos' jersey got retired because he was sitting in the recliner watching the baseball attributes go on. And, just like that, life changed in an instant. But I think part of that is what drove me. It certainly drove me to get the master's because I had talked to him about going back to school, and he was always, my biggest champion. He was like, "You got to go do it. Just go do it. So what if you never use it? Just, the company's going to pay for it, so go do it." And I never did. And it was that voice in my head that I was like, "I'm just going to do it. Let's just go do it." And we would always joke. We were married for just shy of 10 years. He was always the dreamer. Always.
That's how it works.
He was
you got
a
the dreamer and the
guy.
analytical.
Yeah, and we'd jump on the bike, and he would just want to drive.
Yeah.
And I was always like, "We need to plan for retirement. We need to this." He's like, tomorrow.
Yeah.
And he was teaching me. He's like, "You don't have a spontaneous bone in your body." And I would laugh, and I was like, "I do. Tuesday at 2:00.
Yeah.
I can
oh my
be
gosh.
spontaneous."
You and my wife. I would have gotten along perfectly with him. We would have just gone and done things. And you and my wife would have been sitting out with a calendar planning
it out.
Yeah.
And so when this whole opportunity came, and I was like, you know what? People always say if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Is that true?
And while that might not be 100% true, because there are certainly stresses that come with running your
maybe
business,
you just love the work,
but you love what you do and the passion behind it. So I wouldn't be anyplace else.
Yeah.
Knowing all the hardships I went through, I would do it all over again. I look at where the business is now and the staff that I've got and the business partners that I have, and I wouldn't change a single thing. But you do have to, at some point, it was like, I'm just going to take a leap of faith. And with his voice in my head going, just take a chance.
So I love that you're saying this because it seems to be a connection here. I talk to a lot of people about the point when they decided to go for it. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes they've come off of something tragic, a loss, got fired, got in an argument with a boss, quit, some sort of tragedy, adverse time that probably caused them to really look in the mirror. And there might have been a moment as well where it was like, wait a minute, I just got through that and I'm still okay. So if I could get through that, then I'm kind of can get through anything, because that felt like the end of the world.
Of course, yeah.
But the world didn't end.
No, that's probably one of the hardest things. You wake up the next day, your world is broken and shattered, and everybody else is driving on the street like it's a glorious day. And it's like, what the hell is wrong with you?
Why are you not stopping? Why is nothing stopping?
The world has not stopped. I'm in trauma here, and yeah. And you learn quickly.
So we haven't really conversed too much about my story, but it's a similar thing. I went through a very tragic time, and coming out of that, once I felt healed, I guess you would say, or close to that, I kind of started to feel like, wow, I could get through that. But I also feel this higher power, this energy, that I feel like there's something happening around me that's kind of like, no, you go here now. Don't. Nope, it's this way. And I'll see different numbers and signs. And so my question is, do you feel that? Because you keep saying in my head, he's talking to me in my head. Are you feeling a guidance in some way, shape, or form?
I think there's something there for all of us. I said, I always have been pretty good with trusting my gut.
Yeah.
And when I don't, it proves me wrong for not trusting. But I think that is very much, whether it's, people in our past that we hear the voices, I remember memories with my dad and pushing through the hard times and coming out on the other side and, seeing how hard, my brother works to continue that business. So you see all these kinds of things, or if it's just, something inside, just that mental drive that just tells you what the right direction is. It's like, even, when I chose to make a couple of employees partners, I mean, I knew there were people that looked at me like, why would you do that? And why would you do it that way? And it's like, I really don't know, because my gut told me it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to trust that.
When people say follow your gut, what do you think we're really talking? Like, because we're not talking about our stomach. Like, what?
No, it's your intuition. It's kind of listening to what your, I guess it's hard.
Like your consciousness.
It's like your consciousness. So, your first thoughts. I mean, there've been a lot of times in my life I've, seeked advice from therapists and things like that. And one thing that somebody had always told me is, they're like, when you don't know and when you're feeling unsure, like, you should do nothing. Like, don't take action, don't make a decision. But when your head, your heart, and your gut come into alignment, you'll know.
Sprint, start going.
And you'll know the answer and just go with it.
Okay.
And that resonates with me.
Oh, yeah.
And
I kind of just lit up when you said that, because
it's like, So, and I can't explain it any other way. It's like everything I've done, in the business, in making that decision to change, it was like, if not now, when?
Yeah.
And it was certainly, there was losing my husband so suddenly and at such a young age. And then seeing my father pass, even though he was older and, but it's still before his time.
And then you hit a bad economy.
But you lose those things, and it's like, nobody guarantees you tomorrow.
Yeah.
We all have heard it. But sometimes there's just things that happen in your life that really resonate, that is so true.
Yeah.
And you think about the things today that you're letting worry you or stop you. And if you could just think to, how important is this going to be in 2 months? Am I going to regret that I didn't do this? Or am I going to regret that I did? And I think I just try to live much more in the moment and just follow
that alignment.
Yeah, whatever that is,
So is everything good on the other side of fear?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm starting to feel that.
It's not, I mean, fear's there for a reason, right? Fear keeps you in check. It stops us from making impulsive decisions. Being spontaneous is good, but when you've got real life decisions to make that affect other people, you have to be smart about it. So fear keeps you in line to ask the tough questions that sometimes we don't want to know the answers to.
Yeah, fear doesn't mean don't do it. It means think about it.
It just says ask the question, think it through, and then once you make a decision, you better commit to it.
So maybe it's like think it through until you get that alignment, and then when you feel the alignment, then go full speed.
And then you've got to go, and then you can't let anything stop you. You have to just keep pushing through.
So the projects that you were working on at the previous company, these are huge projects you were working on. Like you were talking about under ocean IT projects. I mean, like crazy. They were cross country, corporate infrastructures that they're putting together. So pretty big deals. A lot of people working on them too. It took a lot of people to get them together. A lot of big collaboration. Mm-hmm. So how has this prepared you for a service business where you're dealing with households and it's so different.
It's so different. But
what's transferable?
So, probably the first thing is customer service.
Yeah.
Right? We've all been on the receiving end of really horrible customer service. And that was the one thing that I said won't happen in my business. Customer service, I want it to be an experience for our clients. And no matter what else happens, the customer service needs to be impeccable. And we do what we say we're going to do. And if we screw up, which we will and we have, you take accountability for it and you stand up and you say, sorry, we screwed up. How can we make it better? And these are the plans we've put in place to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Because everybody's human, and I wanted to build that culture and, easier said than done to have a good culture. We've gone through a lot of years.
Oh, my Lord.
Where our corporate culture was not great. You're dealing with a lot of different age levels and experiences and that. But we have worked through that. And right now we've got, thankfully, to, my partners and, the employees that have been with us for so long. I think there is an environment where they know we do have a job to do and it's serious because we're taking care of live animals and people's pets that are like family.
Family member, for sure.
But you don't, everybody's not perfect and we're going to make mistakes. And the worst thing you can do is lie about it or hide from it.
Yeah,
and
perpetuate
just tell us what happened.
Yep.
And together we will address it, and, my staff knows I've got their back 100%. I will defend them when I need to, and if they're wrong, I'll hold them accountable for it. And I'll go to the customer, in front of them and say, yeah, we screwed up. You're right.
Yeah.
But here's what we're doing and here's how we make it right. And I can't tell you how many times, we've had customers that maybe they weren't happy. And by the time they leave, they're like, no, this is great. And they come back. Because it's in how you handle
handle it. Yes,
it is how you step up and handle.
Because other humans, I hope, recognize that they make mistakes too. I mean, it's kind of like part of the whole golden rule. We're so it really is. It's not how good you are when you're good. It's how good you are when you're bad.
But it's bad,
right? So, what do you do? How do you react to that? And that is a defining moment for a brand. Is how they handle something that went sideways. Yeah. And sometimes the best partnerships with a customer don't come from the amazing sales pitch that you gave and the amazing service that you gave. It was how you made it right in a crisis or how you overcame something that they thought was going to go sideways and you made it right and you made them feel great. And that's what they talk more about than the expectation they had already that you were great. Like we always expect you're going to be perfect.
Yeah, right.
But what do you do when it doesn't work out? One
of the biggest challenges that I think people face when they've got a dog is not all dogs fit all scenarios. And so they get these puppies or they adopt these dogs and they have all these visions for this being this great house pet and they're going to be so well behaved. And then they get them home and 3 months into it, and it's like a little tear through the house. They can't control it. It doesn't get along with other dogs. They're having all these problems. And sometimes they, bring them into our daycare and they want them to play in daycare. And we just can't accept them because either their behaviors aren't good or they're not social enough. And people are so quick to walk away and go, oh, my dog is so bad. And it's always like I don't want to say our favorite time because you don't like to see people feeling that way about their animals.
Sure.
But that's where I think we shine, our staff, our trainers, that we're like, listen, your dog's not a bad dog. He's just a dog. And just like people, they're all different. And your dog has different needs. And the play groups that we have maybe don't fit for him. Mm-hmm. But we have these other, opportunities. We have training. It's like helping people learn that these animals, like, they don't come cookie cutter. And not all puppies are cute and lovable and want to be hugged. And that doesn't make the ones that don't bad dogs. It means you need to understand them mentally, emotionally. What are their physical needs? What is the breed of dog you've got? What were they bred to do? And, we have people that'll come in and they have these border collies and they're like, oh my God, they bite my kids and they're biting their ankles all the time. And it's like, no, let's rework it. Let's put a plan in action because what you've got is a border collie who is genetically bred to herd sheep and cattle. And
by biting their ankles.
By biting their ankles.
I have an Australian cattle dog, and when the kids are outside playing,
they hurt him.
He's hurting him. He's running around and he's moving and he's trying to control. Like, if we're watching a Bears game, and they're like scoring touchdowns, which is kind of a miracle. So we get really excited.
Yeah.
The dog goes nuts, like trying to get us to kind of calm down and sit back down. He starts circling us and so on. And of course, I go nuts because I'm like, stop barking at me. But the reality is I got to think for a second, like, wait a minute, this is his instinct. His instinct is like, hey, guys, calm down. Like, we got to get you in line.
And sometimes people are told by so many other professionals that they've gone to, there's nothing we can do. You have to, sometimes it's instances where they've told them they need to give them back up and now they've got this attachment. And we are thankful that we can be the ones to be like, no, slow down. We know it's not a perfect situation, but all is not lost here. Let's work with the dog. Let's meet him where he's at.
Yeah.
And let's go. And when you see some small progress, these families are just so grateful. And they're like, oh my God, you've given us the dog we never thought we could have with them. And it's like, you just need to take some of the emotion out. And, it's like having, a wild child.
Sure.
It's like you have to meet them where they are, holding them down and just.
What's interesting is that people will put the time and effort into a dog like that to get the training and to understand the dog a little bit better and to do the right things. But with a child, we just medicate them.
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of interesting that we don't need to segue down that path, but I find that to be a little bit interesting. But kind of what you're saying is like, when we buy a dog, we have an expectation. The dog, in our mind, we have an expectation. We visualize what we think that this relationship with this dog is going to be.
Right.
And this dog is going to be a dog that's going to sit in our purse or is going to walk down the sidewalk with us in perfect formation and is always going to be calm and sit right next to us. Whatever we visualize the relationship with the dog is. And then we buy a dog that has a completely different personality than that vision is. And we set an expectation that the dog is wrong because the dog is not that expectation.
Right.
What you're saying is like, first off, minimize your expectations. Secondly, maybe get to understand the history of the dog, the DNA of the dog, the pedigree of the dog, and kind of start to form it from there. And then your dog could turn into a version of your expectation, but it needs to be trained in order to do that.
Right. And training's a lifelong thing, and it doesn't have to be difficult. But the smallest of things, all of my dogs are off-leash trained, but they start from puppies, 10 weeks old.
School. We send our kids to school.
Off-leash more than they are on, and they learn to stay by me, one of the greatest examples, I think, Rottweilers are infamous for not liking their feet touched and their nails cut.
Interesting.
I don't know why,
Yeah.
but genetically it is more common than not that they will fight a groomer on something like that. And, people have come to us and they're like, oh, we have to take him to the vet to have his nails done because nobody else can control them. And no discredit to the vets. They've got a different job to do.
Yeah.
They're not groomers. So the vets come in and they've got their assistant and they pin the dog down and they clip the nails and it's done. In the meantime, the dog has been traumatized.
1,000%. Every time I go to the vet now, I get held down and I get my...
Yeah, and our trainers will be like, no, let us work with him, but you're going to have to come like twice a week for the next 4 weeks because we're going to work with our groomer and we're going to take him in and we're going to cut one nail.
Yeah.
And then you're going to take him home. And you're going to bring him back in a couple of days and we're going to cut another nail. And then next week we're going to go for 2 nails. And it might take us 4 weeks to get through.
You got to make it okay.
Paws.
Yeah.
But we want to teach them it is a safe space. Nobody is hurting you. You need to prove to them that there is nothing wrong with this is natural. They have to accept it. It's something that has to be done. So we're not going to, just wait until they're like, okay, now you can, they're never going to love it, but we just need them to tolerate it. But we don't want to stress them out. And people don't think about, because they just don't know, right? None of us, we don't know what we don't know in different topics. So nobody's doing it to be hurtful to the dogs, but nobody's ever told them.
Yeah.
You need a process, and we'll show you the process, and we'll go through it.
It's interesting when you articulate it. It's like such common sense, but it's so not common. I mean, because the fact is, we're all in a rush. Everyone is in a hurry. We just cut the dog's nails. Every time they walk across the hardwood floor, it sounds like I got a tap dancing team in here, and let's just get it done. So we kind of force it, and then we look up and we go, why does the dog react this way? Why is the dog hiding from us to do that? And your trainers just, it's so easy. You got to gradually work into it. It would be no different from if you were implementing an incentive strategy for a sales team. You can't just, rip the Band-Aid off necessarily and think that you're not going to have 70% of them have kickback and react poorly. Yeah. You got to gradually work them into maybe drip the idea on them over a period of time so that it's more well received and there's buy-in. So what you're essentially talking about is you got to get the dog to buy into
the fact that he's going to have to submit.
It can't be punitive.
To it. Yeah. And there's reward afterwards. And the reward doesn't have to always be treats. Your attention, your affection is a reward. We have people that come in and it's like, well, my husband doesn't sleep in the bed because when I get into bed, the dog jumps on it and he growls at him. And we're like, how long has this been going on?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we don't know what else to do. We're like, well, in our own heads, we're thinking the first time that dog did that would have been the last time because you take him off the bed and he's never allowed on the bed again. But we have to walk through that process. It's like, it's not any different than how we raise our children, right? The dog growled because he didn't want you to make him get off. And so you left.
So he went on a charge.
It worked.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it again.
Yeah.
And every time he does it, you leave. And this is beautiful.
And it's me and you, babe.
Yeah. Until somebody... trainers walk in and put a leash on him, and when he growls, we're like, let's go, and drag him off the bed. And it's like, no major punishment, just you're not going to sit on the bed, on the couch, in whatever, and growl at the people in your home.
But that's a lot of stuff you got to undo.
But you have to reprogram, And I said, people come to us and they're like, my dog forgot everything. They're like, your teenager, when you stop punishing them for coming in from curfew, they didn't forget about the curfew. They just know you stopped punishing them.
Yeah.
So they were coming in at 11. Now it's 11:30. Then it's midnight.
Mm-hmm.
Only because they can. They didn't forget what you taught them.
Oh, yeah.
You just stopped expecting
what you allowed.
it.
It's what you allowed.
I said, and it is the same thing with animals. They are creatures of habit. They are not that different than us. They learn the same way. Habits, repetition. What they get rewarded for, they will do.
Okay, so when you started the business 18 years ago, you had a lane. Mm-hmm. And over time, as you've added staff, you've added partners, you've diversified and added services. IT decision makers, this might sting. Frustrated with IT issues, security threats, and the stress of your technology infrastructure, your technology should blend seamlessly with your business objectives. Technology infrastructure management with limited resources can be exhausting and counterproductive. Do you have an MSP but still have problems and technical hiccups? GSD's advisement, proactive maintenance, cutting-edge cybersecurity, cloud solutions, data backup, and local 24/7 help desk can change the game. Your technology should outpace your business operations to allow for growth, and proactive strategies should prevent issues before they arise. Get back your time and your money with GSD. Drive business forward. Leave the technology to GSD. GSDnow.com. And now you've gotten to the point where you're kind of a one-stop shop. I mean, you can do so much.
I mean, we've always done, the daycare, boarding, training, and grooming for our clients. But the industry has changed over the years, right?
Yeah.
Just like any other industry, we learn more, we learn better ways to do things. So what used to just be big group open play, the dogs would come in and
that was it.
Run wild, you know, and we keep everybody safe. To fast forward to today, and it is very small group play. Mm-hmm. It is enrichment based, meaning we now understand more than ever that dogs need more than just physical activity. They need mental stimulation. They need emotional contact. They need to be taken care of 360, not unlike a human. This actually started in the zoos in the UK. If you look, there's a lot of research of things that they do with animals in captivity and doing enrichment type of things to touch like their genetics and their hunting instincts or their, different things. And so the dogs that come to daycare now, we have just every month is a different theme. We make it fun. We keep it themed. Last month we ran summer camp. They earn badges and they would come in and they do agility and we have a whole scent room. So they go through and they sniff different scents and they're looking for treats and they're in ball pits and baby pools, swimming and all kinds of things. But all of that, it activates their problem solving skills. And we look at what the breed is. And if the breed is a hunting dog, you bet we're going to encourage you to give him a day full of scent work because that's
have him go find stuff.
That's what he's bred to do. And that's what fulfills him. So then when he goes home, he is tired, he is fulfilled.
He won't act up.
He is a good, in your mind, a good dog.
Because he's chill.
Because they've had that. I said, it's no different. We sit behind the computer screen all day. You might get 1,000 steps in when you're working. Yeah. But you go home and you're absolutely exhausted. And it's because the mental work is much more tiring than an hour in the gym. You'll recover from that very quickly. The mental stuff takes you a long time to recover from. Yeah. And that's what we've really implemented in everything we do and trying to teach our clients. We do seminars and things like that. My trainer just actually wrote her first ebook that we're putting up on the website on everything about dogs and, just trying to educate people on different things.
Again, the website is www.barkavenuedaycamp.com. Take a look at it if you want to play along. How much have dogs taught you about how to interact with people? Because what you just described is no different from how if you were a manager of 30 salespeople, they all have different personalities. There's different things that drive them. There's different things that inspire them. They're motivated by different elements of the business, elements of life. Some companies give bonuses to people that are only in financial form. Well, 75% of your staff isn't necessarily motivated by money. Right. So you wonder why they never hit the bonus. Well, it doesn't stimulate them. So how much have you learned from dogs that you kind of, in your work with helping dogs, that you kind of have said, well, wait a minute, this applies to how I interact with people and vice versa.
It absolutely does, especially for, our staff, just the way the industry is. Our staff is, much more female than it is. We have a couple of guys that work for us and they're great. But it's very female heavy. And it's a young person's job. They're on their feet 8-10 hours a day on
physical
concrete
labor
floors, mopping and all of that. So, the mid-20s to late 20s, that's kind of the key spot of who applies for this kind of a job.
So you're managing Gen Zs.
We are managing Gen Zs.
Yeah.
Which is different.
They don't love to be managed.
I'm just on the outside of the baby boomer,
You're a Gen Xer?
Yeah, well, I was 65, so I just was out of that.
Okay.
Yeah. But, we really do have to look, and we're constantly, looking at ways, how do we incentivize our staff? We've got a seminar coming up next month that we're excited to go to because there's a speaker there talking about a whole different kind of program, because we know not everybody, like you say, not everybody is driven by money. I mean, everybody needs to make a good salary.
Sure.
But
that's not their driver, though.
Choice, that's not what drives them. It's
freedom.
It might be their freedom. It might be their vacation time. It might just be hearing from you that they're doing a great job.
Pat on the back.
It might be, we have a program that we use that we can send like digital gift cards and that on the spot to people. That sometimes it's just we know they like Dunkin' Donuts, so we send them Dunkin' Donuts. Here's $15.
Some people want a bulk thing. Some people want little incremental things. And sustained.
Even when you're talking about congratulating somebody on a job well done, some people love for that to be done in front of other people. They like that. Mm-hmm. Some people do not.
No, I learned that.
That is their worst nightmares to be called out. They would rather have you send them a text and say, saw what you did. Great job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm watching.
Yeah. So, you really have to dig in. And, and the hard thing is sometimes people, either they don't even know what really motivates them or they don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. What's interesting?
You have to get to it.
A previous company I worked for actually sent out some surveys and emails and stuff like that to kind of figure out would you prefer to be rewarded this way, this way, this way, or this way? And it was pretty interesting to see how different people were, and to look at people who maybe you had been managing one way and you're like, why am I not getting something out of them? And the reason being is when you got the feedback, you were totally managing them wrong. Like you were being kind, you were being nice, you were trying to celebrate them. But to your point, you were bringing them up on stage and they didn't want to be up on stage. Right. But your natural instinct would be to want to be on stage. So you thought because that's how you're motivated that would motivate them. And I've made that mistake so many times in management. It's like, well, this would get me fired up.
Yeah. But
it would totally put somebody else in a situation and be like, oh my God, I don't even want to go to work anymore.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And that's the hardest thing in training managers, teaching them that your job is to learn to manage people the way they need to be managed. Right? Just what you're saying. You have to be the chameleon, not your employees. You have to manage them the way they need to be managed, not the way that's comfortable for you. You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's a hard lesson.
Gosh, it is so hard. And I fail at it all the time. And I always think that I'm so good at it. And then I go, gosh. And it's always hindsight, which is, it's like in golf, we call him player B.
Yeah.
The second player is so damn good.
Yeah.
Makes the person who hits the mulligan always hits it right down. And it's just like, oh, gosh, you look back. And I can imagine how many dog owners probably come in and they're like, oh, my God, that's all you did? Like, why didn't I think of that? And you're like, well, because we do this all the time. This is our passion. This is what we do. You're not supposed to be an expert at that. That's what we're the experts at.
Right. And, it's taken me a long time. It's like, I've gotten more creative. My natural tendency is not go to the cutesy, fun, artsy stuff. I'm a numbers person.
Yeah.
Thankfully, one of my business partners is very much a creative person, and she does great at it. Most of what you see on our Facebook and TikTok are pictures that she's gotten or her staff has gotten, at her direction. So she's really good at that. But, I can get so in my head that even, my partners have verbalized to me, and I'm grateful for it, that they're like, sometimes the staff needs to hear from you.
Yeah.
Like our staff, because I don't work in the kennel every day, but they're like, they still want to hear from you. Yeah. And in my head, I'm like, they know they're doing a good job.
Why would they want to hear from me?
They would know if I was mad or if I was upset, they would know.
Yeah.
They know they're doing a good job. And then I have to stop and think, and I'm like, how would they know?
Yeah.
I didn't say it. Mm-hmm. And, and sometimes just that text out to a group that maybe has had a really tough afternoon, or, it always is hard when they find out that, one of our old clients, longtime clients, their dog has passed. It's very emotional. Staff gets very close to these family. They become part of our family.
It's like being their nanny.
So sometimes just to send that group text, because they all love text, nobody answers their phone. So you have to send the group text. Hold on,
say that again?
They will not answer their phone.
Okay. Those of you listening, I've told you this. You have sales teams, and you're wondering why the sales team isn't growing. Well, and why the revenue is not growing. And meanwhile, your sales tactics are only to use a phone. The average buyer is 36 years old. They don't answer the phone. Yeah, text, content, email, text, content, email. All right. Sorry.
Yes.
I digress.
But that's what gets the response. When I send something that says, hey, I know today was an extraordinarily hard afternoon. Thank you all for showing up. Thank you for doing what you do.
Hits them right in the heart.
Immediately I get the responses back, emojis, of course, because very few words, but that's okay. But it's been a learning thing for me, because that's not how I operate necessarily. And it's always a learning curve to come out of. It's not about me. It's not about how I operate. It's what they need.
And what's really interesting, and I applaud you for this, and I think more leaders, owners, managers need to do this, is you could try and force your team to adapt to our generation, right? And the way that we do things. Or you could come to their level, right, as it relates to how they like to communicate, and show that you're willing to get in there with them and to do that, which then leads them to be more open to going to your side of communication, your style, and then you've got this great compromise that happens in between. I had a guest on a different episode, and we were talking about, like, with your customers and your employees, it's not about how you like to communicate. It's finding the way they like to be communicated with, and then being able to meet them at all of those different levels. And that sounds very much what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, trying. It is a work in progress.
It certainly is, right?
It is always fluid. A work in progress, because I tried to make them, this is the way we should do it.
Yeah, sure.
Because of course I'm type A, I'm corporate.
And
this is where my head is.
And it's second nature to you. Yeah. This is how you do it.
So that is what I've tried, and it failed miserably, and, thankfully I do have some, managers and some staff that'll come and go, you might want to try this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What if we tried this?
What if we? Yeah.
And letting go of the reins, but trusting people. And that, that's a big thing with me. We need to be able to be trusted. I want to be able to trust the staff. My partners are invaluable to me, and they're significantly younger than I am, but they've come up through the ranks. They've put in blood, sweat, and tears into the business for both of them over 8, almost 9 years. And that's why they're partners, because I can work from home and work on the executive type stuff, and I don't have to worry about what's happening in the day to day, because they've got it.
What a great luxury.
They've got it. It is a luxury, because there are many people that are still in our industry and owning, businesses like I do, that are still in the
you're getting to own
every day.
You're getting to own the business instead of operate it.
Right.
And
I've been there for quite a while now, and it's only because, those people are so good at what they do, but it's taken me to learn to step back, step off, and let them do their thing. And the fact of the matter is, it's not always going to be done my way. It doesn't mean it's wrong.
Yeah.
It means it's not my way. It's their way.
Yeah.
And as long as it worked, that's really all that matters. Did they accomplish what we needed to accomplish?
And that's, gosh, that's so awesome of you. That's that's so big of you, because at the end of the day, as a CEO, you're looking for an outcome. So you kind of lay down like, hey, look, we need to grow by 25%. I'd like the margin to be X. Mm-hmm. We need our customer service rating to be 9 out of 10. We need the value of the company to increase, but like, it's all real high level stuff. And then you got to look at the people that are actually operating the business in order to get to that point. You got to, instead of saying, here's what you're going to do, you got to say, okay, so if these are the things that we want to achieve, right? And we're setting as a goal, how do we do it? There? And then how can I help you to help me, to help us to get there?
Yeah. One of the driving things that sent me to work from home was because one of my partners, Marissa, acts as our general manager and director of operations. So she handles all the day-to-day for the daycare and boarding, all of that staff, which is most of our staff. So she has a lot on her plate. And her staff was not going to her with questions, issues, whatever. They'd come to me.
Oh.
And then I was always like, well, what did Marissa say? Uh-huh. And I'm always doing this pushback. And I finally, one day, I just went to him. I said, I think I'm going to remove myself from the building. And because I only work a mile away, I said, you've got my number. You know where I am, but I'm going to work from home. So I'm not here. They have to go to you.
That's pretty awesome of you.
And she was all for it, and it worked.
Yeah.
And now I go in twice a week, mainly to meet with the management team, make sure. And I want to see all the other staff.
Sure,
it's like
absolutely.
I want to be a face. I never want to be an absentee owner. But not being there every day
had empowered
the managers that are there to do what they do.
Yeah.
And they know it's like, I'm not going to question them. As I meet new people, a lot of times I'll interview some of the newest people coming in just to help offload work for Marissa. And I tell them straight up, I'm like, your main job is to make Marissa happy. She's your direct report.
Yeah.
And if I'm not hearing complaints from her,
you're doing a great job.
You're doing a great job.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I said, when Marissa comes into me and says, so-and-so needs, a 50-cent raise or a 75-cent raise, or I want to promote them, I've never told her no.
Yeah.
But
she also doesn't cross the line and go asking for something that isn't justified.
And I don't work back there. So, that's the other biggest thing as an owner is know what you don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't worked in back with hands-on with the dogs in 13 years.
Yeah. You're working hands-on with customers and employees.
I don't know what they're doing back there. Yeah. So when she comes to me and says they're doing a great job back there, why would I not believe her? Mm-hmm. I said, she's only telling me because I have the clearance to go in and put the numbers in the paycheck change.
Yeah.
I said, so, that's your job, and it empowers her and it makes it clear to them that she is where the power lies.
So the name of the podcast is the Get Shit Done Experience. So we always want to talk about like what are the key fundamentals to how a business owner and entrepreneur, get shit done on a daily basis. So you've got a lot of wisdom. You've been doing this for a long time, a lot of great thought leadership, and your business expertise is clearly there. I feel like you're a businesswoman that happens to run a doggy park, not a doggy park operator that happens to be a businesswoman. I think it's definitely the other way around. I think it's definitely the case. And I think that you could take the same fundamentals that you've taken to this, you could probably apply it to an aerospace company, right?
There's some basics in running a business.
Yeah.
I've learned from my mentors and put into practice.
Yeah. So what would you say if you were going to write a book, which by the way, are we going to write a book at some point?
I've had people tell me I should write a book.
Okay, maybe we should. All right. So if you're going to write a book, this is a good start. You'll hear this back and you're like, maybe I should write a book. So if you're going to write a book, like if you were going to put in that book, like 3 keys to get shit done in business, what would be some of those keys? Maybe it's 5 keys. Maybe you already have a list. I don't know. Maybe you've already started writing the book and nobody knows. You want to tell us about that? You want to launch that on the podcast here today? Is there a date that we should expect? Anyways, so like, what would you say are your kind of key fundamentals, like your pillars?
Make a decision.
Okay, cool. Elaborate.
People, and myself included, we can get very caught in the weeds, and it's kind of analysis paralysis type of move, which I am so guilty of.
Okay,
and,
hold on a second. That's a former corporate financial analyst who just said make a decision. Okay, talk about
we
full circle.
Yeah, we had to make some price adjustments and things like that. And I needed the kick in the butt from my own consultant that was like, send the damn email. Just do it. Because I was busy. What about this? Well, maybe I should wait here. Maybe next week will be better. Just make the decision. It's not, if it's a bad decision, fine. Then
make another one.
Yeah, exactly. Learn from it and make a better decision the next time.
Yeah.
But just make a decision. And then, stand by it. And I say that with kind of a caveat because stand by it. I mean, execute. Give your best to execute on your decision.
Yeah.
But when you see it's wrong, say it's wrong. Stop
because if you
shove it. A square peg in a round hole. If it's wrong, it's wrong.
Oh, preach. Thank God you said that because I can't tell you, the greatest thing that you could do. I work for a business owner, and I could say great things. I could say bad. He probably can't stand me, but here's the deal. He had some unbelievable wisdom. And one of the things he always said to people is, we are going to make decisions here fast, and some of them are going to be the wrong decision, and we will correct it immediately. And one of the things I thought was the coolest about him as a business owner was it wasn't just a brand tagline like that he was saying to people in a board meeting. We would make a decision, and we would go full steam at that decision, and he'd be analyzing and looking at it. He's like, nope, it's not working. Yeah. So now we're doing this. And it was like, what? Okay. And then we were so agile because we made decisions that you couldn't tell. We always think in the marketplace, everyone's paying so much attention to us. But the reality is people are paying attention to their own damn thing. So you freak out that the marketing thing didn't get out fast enough, or the content didn't do this, or we didn't send the email and there was a one word wrong in it. We freak out about stuff like that. But the reality is people aren't really paying attention. So when you have that agility and you maneuver, a lot of times you can catch the thing before the whole market understood or saw what was really happening. And so I love the fact that that's one of your key mantras. Make a decision, and if that decision's not good, make another one.
Yeah, just go a different direction.
All right, what else? What else would you add to that?
You have to know what your mission is. What is your purpose? Why are you doing what you're doing? And so for us, it's all about the dogs. It's helping our community by helping the dogs that live in that community. It's by making them the best they can be. It's by making the bond between the owners and the dog the best it can be. And so at the end of the day, that mission is what helps us make decisions when do we do A or do we do B? What's best for the dog? That's your decision.
That is so interesting because you could have said it's all about the customer, but the customer has already taught you they don't know what to do with the dog. They don't always know
what to do. And I guess number 3, right? You're not going to make everybody happy, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Then they're not your client, or, it's just not a fit. You can't make everybody happy, but you still have to do the right thing. And for us, that right thing is what's right for the dog. And if that means dismissing him from daycare because he's just not a good fit anymore, he was great when he was 2.
Yeah.
Now he's 6, and he's a little cranky.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be here. I'm going to tell you, your dog doesn't want to be here, so we're not going to allow him back.
Well, he's in his 40s now, people. Yeah. He's 42 years old, so
there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
It's like, if I were, and I tell this to staff all the time, I'm like, if I were only here for the money, we would accept every dog. We would never kick anybody out, and we would just keep hiring enough staff to take care of them, and do whatever we have to do to take in as many dogs as possible. But we don't.
Yeah.
And we're particular about who we bring in. And sometimes dogs work really well in our facility when they're younger. And as they age, that's the natural process. They don't want the same things anymore. So they either move to our solo options or they don't use us at all, or we do things in their home, whatever. But if I'm kicking a dog out of daycare and saying, they cannot come back, it's because that's what's best for them. And the client, the human client, may not be happy.
Mm-hmm.
I can't help that. I've made a commitment when I opened this business to do what's best for the dog. And what's best for the dog, your dog, is to not be in this environment.
So you're going to hold the line.
So you're going to go.
You're going to hold that line.
Yeah. And I think no matter what you're doing, no matter what kind of business it's in, right? So like you said, it can apply to all kinds of industries. But know why you're doing what you're doing. What is your purpose?
I'd like to think that anyone who gets into business is purpose driven. But I haven't really met a whole lot yet, other than those that had some sort of tragedy or some sort of thing happen that caused them to then start the business. So they already went into it purpose driven because like something happened, right? But most other business owners that went in with a different intent, like they were going to dominate, make a ton of money, whatever, eventually they find a purpose. Or they're probably not in business any longer. I don't know if a lot of businesses can sustain unless they find a purpose. Did you go in with that purpose? When was the discovery? How long did it take for you to discover that that your purpose needed to be solely and completely about the dog? Was that a day one thing?
That was a day one.
That was a day one thing.
That was a day one thing. Yeah, I just,
How many times have you been tested on that, or have you wavered? Or
I can't even count the number.
Yeah.
So I have 3 dogs right now. I've had so many in my past, I could lose count easily. And some of those dogs have been dogs that I've seen, and it's like they're either with the wrong owner, and the owner wanted to rehome them, and I took them. Mm. Or they just, they come into us because we work with some local shelters to help them rehabilitate dogs, and that there's dogs so many of those dogs, they come into us for training, and our staff ends up adopting the dogs because we're just like, oh, this dog just needs the right home, and we can give it to him, So, I think the passion for always wanting the dogs to be paired with the right people and wanting to do the best for them has always been it's always been my passion. That's what's kind of started this. And I think if I look out to our employees, the employees that just shine are the ones that have the deepest purpose is with the dogs. They all love them, obviously. But yeah, I think that's always been a number one thing.
So what's the big vision? Where do you go from here? Do you expand into multiple locations? Is it continuing to bring your junior partners, I guess you would say, or your partners up into the organization?
It's funny you say. I actually had thought about franchising.
Yeah.
I have my whole franchise model set up. And
I'm sure you do.
But then we changed and we kind of pivoted and we went with this whole enrichment
thing. The gut didn't align?
It just didn't align. And I'm like, well, we were kind of changing our business model. So I'm like, now I can't franchise this because I don't even know what it is yet.
Yeah.
And, now I'm 5-6 years down the road. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that franchise thing anymore. So really my big vision right now is to continue to bring my partners up and educate them to continue the business with less and less of me involved, because I don't want to see this disappear. I don't foresee myself ever truly retiring and not doing anything. But if I were to start career number 3, it will probably be a consulting firm to help people in, second or third career.
In their stages.
In their stages of life. I think there's a lot of people that, like us, right? You've gone through some tragedy, life changes, you want to do something else, and they want to start a small business and they have nowhere to go. They have no idea what they're doing.
It's getting them lost.
And I'd like to just do some consulting work.
And your friend John.
I can do that from anywhere.
Yeah, your friend John probably inspired you in that regard too.
Yeah,
So they talk about in branding, there's levels. And so like in dealing with customers, you got satisfy, delight, and then empower. And it sounds like you're on the empower trip.
Yeah.
Because what you're trying to do is educate. You're trying to really benefit and enrich the life of the dog.
Right. And the people that are with them. It's like,
That's my point.
That bond is huge. But it doesn't always come natural.
But you're empowering the owner of that
show
dog.
You how to get there.
Yes. Yeah. So it almost makes you replaceable, but irreplaceable.
Yeah. I mean, truthfully, right, that's at the end of the day, clients that know how to do all of this for their dog on their own. But there's always more young dogs.
Exactly. There's always more coming in. It's like you empower them and you make yourself replaceable, but then they go tell 10 people for you. Right. Or people go, how was your dog so well behaved? And they go, well, Michelle, Park Avenue. That's it.
Most of our business comes from referrals. We are, proud to, when we look at our Google reviews, it's like there's a reason, most places around us, similar industries, will have 100, 120, 130 reviews.
Yeah.
We're getting close to 600.
That's awesome.
But there's a reason for it,
Yeah, it's not an accident.
We work really hard, and, we really, really, at the end of the day, want our clients just to walk away happy and have a good experience.
I love it.
That's all it is.
So we end every podcast with something inspirational. There's somebody perhaps listening to this podcast that is battling with something in their heart or their mind, whether or not they should make a decision. Perhaps they are in the corporate world and they want to make the jump to the next thing. Perhaps they are hopping on the trade at Big Timber in Elgin and taking it all the way down to Madison, to Union Station. And they've been doing that for 20-something years repeatedly, and they just keep looking out that window and they're watching the world pass them by, and they just kind of like are numb, and they're walking into a building and they're thinking to themselves, oh gosh, how much longer can I do this? Perhaps there's somebody who has this absolutely brilliant passion or love for some sort of hobby or something, and they're thinking to themselves, how can I turn this into a business? Like, what would you say to somebody who's in that frame of mind where they're like on the edge? What would be your words of encouragement, or how would you guide them to make the move to get shit done?
It sounds so Pollyanna, I guess, but you just make the decision. Happiness is a choice. It's a choice we make every day. And success is a choice. And I don't mean success financially, because there's all kinds of successes, and your business can make a huge profit, and that does not mean you are a success. But if you can look at what you are doing, what you're giving back, how you're employing people, giving them, a lifestyle that they can be proud of, and something that you can go home. I can go home at night and I rest easy knowing I'm doing something good.
Yeah.
I'm not perfect. I'm never going to be. I'm not even going to try to be. But I'm doing the best that I can. And you just have to make the decision to do it, and you can do anything you want. Our minds are much more powerful than we give them credit for.
The people at Nike were really smart when they came up with the brand slogan, just do it.
Yeah.
I think that's a lifestyle brand, and that really makes a whole lot of sense. And I think that it's pretty brilliant when you look at the work that you've done over the last so many years and how you dealt with tragedy and you turned it into something wonderful. And it seems like maybe you've got some angels in your corner.
For sure.
And you've become and you've become a mentor for your staff, and you've built a legacy, and now you want to continue to build that out. So it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. We really appreciate it. And by the way, folks, we know that you love your dogs. If you're in the greater Chicagoland area, please check out www.barkavenuedaycamp.com. And maybe there's a chance that we're expanding into multiple locations. But for now, we're in Bartlett. But it seems to me that the time and travel, if you were 25 minutes away, and maybe there's one around the corner, the one around the corner, probably you haven't heard from their owner, and you haven't heard from their owner in this way. And maybe it's worth the drive to go a little bit further than you normally would for that little animal in your home that is like a family member to you, that's like a child. So do the right thing for your dog, then they'll do the right thing for your dog, and then your dog will behave in a way that, is the way that you would want them to do that. So
We'll show you about the difference.
I love it, Michelle. Please follow Michelle on all of her social media platforms. And by the way, Michelle, I want to remind you, you got shit done.
That's right. Thank you.
Well done. Cheers.
Thank you.
Can your business handle 15% growth? If yes, you have to engage with 2020 Design. They fuse data and creativity to stop the scroll, break through the noise, and grab the attention of your future customers. 2020 Design will create competitive, click-worthy campaigns, design and build custom websites, spark your social media presence, and structure email campaigns that get right to your audience, the decision maker. Let's boost attention and awareness, which allows you to convert more sales. Check them out at 2020design.com. That's the number 20, TWENTY design.com.